I like the cha-cha, yeah! Hey guys, Soulless Reviews here, and today I want to talk about the new D.R.A.M project called Goddamn! And this seems to be his first album released after his first EP just earlier this year called One Epic EP. And most of you guys probably well know him by his hit smash single, Cha-Cha. And if you haven't heard Cha-Cha, well, you've probably certainly heard Hotline Bling by Drake, and those songs are essentially the same thing, even though Drake claims them not to be, considering the fact that technically music is how you take it, and you can manipulate it any way you want without getting a lawsuit nowadays. But regardless, D.R.A.M seems to sing while also rap a little bit, and he has a good combination of both while also having some cool, kind of quirky instrumentals. I like his production style on a majority of the tracks he had on that One Epic EP. It wasn't all like Cha-Cha. It definitely had some stuff where it switched up from that style, and I liked it overall. I thought it was pretty solid, although I do want to see some growth here. This is his first album, so I can't expect a whole lot. I don't want to see like substantial growth from one EP to a LP, but I do want to see something where it's, there's more to you than just the cha-cha, I want to see you do well with Donnie Trumpet and SZA, and do well on your own, too. I really want this album to shine. And it looks like this album is going to be a big smash, especially because it looks like he's bitch-slapping Godzilla on the cover art. But, I mean, guys, it could go bad, but I'm hoping for the best. I always hope for the best. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I am going to listen to Goddamn by D.R.A.M, and then afterwards, I am going to tell you guys just how I feel about it. Okay, guys, so what do we get from Goddamn? Well, it was okay. I honestly can't say this was all that good of a project. And I think the big problem this album has is what brought down the Cha-Cha single and what brought down some of his music off of his EP. In that when he decides to take the route of singing, which he does often on here, there's only one spot where he actually raps, or at least like hardcore raps where it's distinctly him rapping. When he's trying to channel his vocals and he's trying to sing more, it seems as though he can't pull it off and his voice is really raspy. He's not putting all that much effort forth to make his voice all that, you can't really understand what he's saying, and his voice isn't a voice that you enjoy hearing. Now, there are people out there like Fetty Wap who have that really raspy tone to their voice. It's kind of scratchy, and at times you can't really make out what he's saying. But what he's able to do is put a really good melody behind him and also croon with the melody, and it kind of pans out okay for Fetty Wap, which is why it works so much for him on the hit singles that he's had. In D.R.A.M's case, yes, there are some instrumentals that I like on here, and the production is a strong suit for this overall vocally weak project. He seems to think by singing in his normal voice that it'll catch fire just because he is who he is, when in reality his voice is really obnoxious, and it's not something I would like to hear all that often. It's really not something I want to come back to, because mainly he's using this obnoxious tone in his voice that makes it's really a turnoff for this project. And at first, like on Signals, Throw It Around, I was actually kind of amused, because some of these songs he sounds like really stoned, and especially on that track he sounded really stoned, and I was actually kind of laughing a little bit, because it was kind of comical the way he was kind of half-assing this, and it kind of sounded like he was half-assing it on purpose. There was some nice bird chirping in the background, which helped kind of revive this track a little bit, and overall it seemed to be kind of weak, but I kind of got the vibe that he was trying to make that track the way it was, exactly how it sounded, because that's just who he was, and it came off a little humorous to me, but the humor died as this album progressed, because I realized that he was almost in a way making that voice, the voice he was using on that track, that's his serious, that's what he's singing, that's how he normally sings, and then it's like, oh no, this is bad. The track Dollar had a nice contribution by Donnie Trumpet, and I love the trumpets in that track, and I thought the melody of that track was really nice, but again, D.R.A.M comes in and kind of ruins that song with his just not good crooning. I mean, he really, muddies his voice and causes that track to balance out to just be okay. The production is really nice and smooth sounding, like a track that I could actually picture SZA on, ironically, but for D.R.A.M, he's too raspy, he sounds too muddy of a voice to really, it's not a good matchup. With the Shits kind of made me upset a little bit because it had a nice instrumental to it, especially with the Spanish guitar being included, but the fact that D.R.A.M came on and really half-assed his singing voice and sounded like he really didn't give a shit the way he sounded on that track really brought it down. I thought there was a good use of instrumentals, and I think he has an ear for that, but at the same time, he doesn't know how to carry the song vocally. It just plummets once you hear how he sounds. The beginning, it actually starts with the instrumentals, and you're like, oh, this is kind of promising. It came after that little interlude, and I'm like, okay, this might actually be a redemption, but no, it just went downhill once you heard him crooning over the production. And I feel like that's where this album disappointed me the most, because a lot of this production seems good. It's like he took one step forward with his production, but took one step back in his overall delivery, his lyricism, the way he sung. Thematically, there's really nothing to take away from this project. Like, there are no themes that are even recognizable on here. The ones you can even make out from his voice just aren't even that notable to mention. There were also some guitar solos, like on Facts and I'll Be Back Again, that were okay. I mean, it definitely felt like he was trying to draw out the LP a little bit, but it did aid in his sound instrumentally. I think it sounded okay. He didn't make them too long. It definitely piqued my interest a little bit listening to this. I was like, oh, cool, guitars. Like, I mean, that's kind of cool after we just kind of got over him singing a little bit. It's just guitars. But all in all, it just relates back to the main flaw. I mean, it has solid production. There's some guitars, there's that Spanish guitar, there's some nice sounds here and there you'll pick out of this album, but his crooning is almost unbearable at times on this project, and it really weighs it down. Now, Caretaker with SZA was actually a good track. Not only was the beginning just SZA, and she wrote that melody beautifully. I feel like she has a great voice, and the way she matched with that production I think was really well done. D.R.A.M came on and sang too, although yes, it wasn't that great, you already know, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad as he was showing himself to be on this project. He definitely stepped up a little bit in the presence of SZA with his voice a little bit, but at the same time, it wasn't all that great, and it balanced out to be a decent track. It's definitely like a smoother track. And in the context of this album, it was actually enjoyable because it took a break from being like a not all that great song. It was actually pretty decent for what it's mixed in with here. And what also pissed me off too is the last track, Oakton. I believe it's Oakton, not Octon. But regardless, the latter half of that song, he was actually rapping, and he had decent delivery and decent flow. And it kind of baffles me, like, wait, whoa. We just went through this whole project using decent production and then just having bad vocals. Why would you not choose to rap on some of these songs? Like, I feel like you could have pulled it off well, but you just chose the last track on this album, where people have probably given up on you up until this point. People are probably like, I'm not into this, and gave up. Why would you not introduce your rapping earlier on this project? It seemed he only rapped towards the latter half of the last song, and that's where I felt like I was the most emotionally invested in this project, when I could actually understand what he was saying. I actually enjoyed what he was talking about. He had some nice lyrics, but latter half of the last song, like, come on, D.R.A.M, like, why would you do that? Why would you not at least incorporate rapping a little bit more than you did on this project? So, I mean, guys, some decent production on this thing. SZA does great on her verse, and D.R.A.M actually shines at the end when he's rapping. And there are times, maybe if you're in a silly mood, where you could play songs like Signals, Throw It Around, they don't take themselves seriously because he himself sounds like High. So it's not even like, it can be taken as a joke song and it's not all that to be taken seriously. But if you're listening for some good music, then this album really isn't that. Instrumentally, it might be able to stand its own, but altogether, including his voice, it really can't. It just isn't all that good. I was expecting way more from D.R.A.M. I thought he might have took an extra step to maybe improve upon what his EP didn't have, but it seemed as though he took his production up a notch while taking his voice down a notch. He didn't put as much effort in vocally as he should have to match that production. It was very uneven and didn't balance out properly. So this isn't really something I would say check out. It's definitely something you don't even have to, like, I mean, it's cool cover art, and maybe listen to the SZA song, because SZA, of course, has a beautiful voice and actually rides that melody well. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of an okay project. Not even okay, it's just not good. And, I mean, listen to it at your own risk, really. I mean, you might be into it, but more than likely you're not going to be. And hey, maybe some people can actually fuck with his voice, but me personally, I can't. I just feel like his voice really ruined a majority of this project. But if you can vibe out to his voice, then be my guest, listen to this project. And yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. If you would like to like or subscribe, that'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. And till next time, Soulless Reviews.